I'm so happy you're here, and despite the weather, you made it to the call. So I'm very grateful for that, and I want to welcome you to the session. And also, yeah, I really applaud you for taking action on this damn overthinking. Like it's been happening and it keeps happening. And to now take action and want to make a change and at least want to know more about it, I think that's amazing. So well done, well done. I do see people are late leaving work, so just gonna. Okay, cool, Julia. I understand. Yeah. When you're driving, please focus on the driving. Yes. All right. Okay. So, what I want to share with you in this hour tonight, I'm assuming we're all in the evening time zone right now, is that I want to share with you what overthinking basically is, and also do it in a science-backed way. So, really looking at the brain, how does it work, and also it may be more important, how to solve it. Right. So I have this presentation lined up for you. Like I said, I love interaction. So just share with me how you feel. Share if you have an opinion or a question, because I love to answer them straight away. And we have a Q&A at the end after all the information that I've shared. And there's also some time for your questions and hopefully my answers. So yes, for the ones that have just entered, please turn on your camera if you can. That's just a lot more fun, and the interaction is greater when you have your camera on. So I would really appreciate that. And if you have a question, please raise your hand. There's buttons at the bottom of the screen to raise your hand. Or you can put something in the chat. All right. Okay, let's get going. So this is my assumption that you're on here because you're tired of overthinking. And maybe some of you have tried all different ways, just like I did, to stop overthinking, to journal, meditate, maybe thinking it through one last time. But it just keeps on looping. It keeps on going. And I don't know about you, but I felt pretty mentally exhausted by that. And it was just not clarifying anything, that thinking. It just got worse. Like it made things more confusing and more troubling, and well, it was basically a lot of energy and time going into the thinking, but then there wasn't really a result. I just kept on thinking, and I felt really busy with that, but nothing really came out of it. So no result, no action, no solution, nothing. So that felt really frustrating. And I was curious also, when you registered to your interest at Meetup, on the Meetup platform for this call, I asked you, what is it? And that was the literal question I think that I wrote down here. What has overthinking cost you emotionally or practically? I was super curious. And I want to share the answers with you, and not mentioning your name or anything. The answers, I just kept them anonymous. But I just want to share with you what is not only in your mind, but also in the minds of 30 other people that wanted to get on this call. And it's this. So maybe if you just want to take that in and read through a couple of the answers. I'm not going to read all of them to you. That'd be a bit boring. But these were the answers. And I just wanted to show you this because you're not alone. You're not the only one who's overthinking things. And I'm happy you're here and you're doing something about it. But as you can see here in the slide, and maybe you recognize your own answer, you can see that it really, the answers are so varied. But it's for me, with every answer that I read, I was like, oh my gosh, I wish you something better. Just the loss of confidence, focus. It's tiring. Someone even said, like, it cost me everything. It feels pretty heavy, right? It costs time, opportunities, peace, focus. So it's a lot, right? It's a lot, and I get it. Costing energy, it's holding me back professionally, time and energy I can't get back, always delay my work, wanting to escape, costing me my dignity. So that's pretty serious. That's pretty serious stuff. And I totally get it. So just know you're not alone. And this is something that it's not because of you doing something wrong. It's your brain. It's our brain that's wired in a certain way. But we'll get to that in a second. So just to clarify for you, what I can do for you this hour is that I want to make sure that you clearly see and learn why overthinking happens in our brain, and not based on my opinion, but on science. What is going on in our brain actually in that moment, because it doesn't really seem to make sense, right? So it's good to know what's going on in our brain. Why logic doesn't help, thinking, I just have to go through this one more time, it'll be fine. And then it doesn't really help. So why not? And also what does work, right? And that's probably the most interesting part, and also how to do that. So if you're cool with that, let's go ahead I don't see any comments or raised hands, so I'm going to assume that you agree with this agenda. Let's get going. And before we really head into the content of everything, I just quickly want to introduce myself. Otherwise, you'd be thinking, who is this woman talking to me? So my name is Charlotte. I am originally from the Netherlands. That's also where I'm at right now. I live in Portugal, in Lisbon, and have been living there for about 3 years now. It's been beautiful. And now for the summertime, I'm just visiting some family and friends here in my home country. And I've been a fan of personal development all my life, basically. So I've always been interested in, performance and how can I get the maximum out of myself and live up to my full potential. And I found it always a really fun thing to do and to learn more. And I was also always I've been fascinated by the brain and how does the brain work and how does it influence our state, and how is it that some people, even though they're kind of equally blessed with, a good brain and opportunities, how come the one is achieving his or her goals and the other one is not? And just always fascinated me a lot. A little bit on my career path so far. So I started out in the diplomatic world and with my beautifully naive wish to change the world. And I then pivoted into international project management. So the corporate world I was in for quite some time. And I also was in HR management, was always on project internationally, heading teams varying from 3 to 60 people. And then I was in consulting for quite a while, HR change projects. And I was always in HR because it fascinated me the way that, teams work, the way that people get motivated or unmotivated to work. It's really just the whole thing, the whole human resource aspect of it, and really how do we work together. That always really fascinated me, still does. And at one point, I invented a kitchen product. I'm always into learning stuff, so this feels a bit random, but this is something I've done as well. And then I founded an accountability program, and that was because thanks to all the personal development work that I've done and all the certifications and everything that I was able to learn. I always was sharing with others the way I work and, how to achieve your goals. That's also where my company name Your Goal Gal came from, right? So people came up to me asking, so how do you achieve that? How come you do so many different things at once and they all work out? How do you invent something and then market it and pitch it to investors and then, all these things. So I basically set up this accountability program. And in there, my fascination for the brain and how that works and how that helps or works against us, it was kind of revived, because I really noticed that people, although they were super smart and they had a clear vision and a goal that they really care about, a significant portion of the people participating in the program did not succeed. And it wasn't because they weren't smart enough, and it wasn't because they weren't able to, but it was just their brain, their mind that was not working with them. And that really invited me to study neuroscience more. How does the brain, how can it help us to get to where we want to go? And it helped me as well because I am a former overthinker. I was an overthinker. I don't identify as one anymore. But I used to really think a lot. So I can really fully identify with what we just saw in this slide. And maybe for the ones that have just entered the call, these were the answers that came, the one that you as well answered and that other participants as well answered. What has overthinking cost you emotionally or practically? So I can fully relate to what you're experiencing. And that's also why I think this hour is so important, because not overthinking anymore has really saved me a lot of time and energy. And it's also made life a lot more light and joyful. So I want to share it with you guys. I think it's so valuable. I will share with you on this most effective and fun way to grow that I put in this slide for you. And that I've had the pleasure to already help over 40 people, happy clients. And of course, and counting. So many more to follow. So that's a little bit about me. Also, just for the ones that have just joined, make sure to raise your hand, put in the chat if you have any question or feedback. Very welcome. Okay, then on. So what causes overthinking? What causes it? That's really important to really start with that. So it's basically your brain trying to protect you, and trying to protect you from what you were probably thinking, right? So what is happening in our brain is that it's really working overtime for you every day, every hour, every minute to avoid danger, to avoid rejection, to avoid mistakes, because your brain has one priority, and that is to keep you safe. So everything it does is a strategy for your survival. And it believes that as long as you can predict every possible outcome, it'll protect you from danger. That's the reasoning in your brain, right? In yours, in mine, in everyone's. That's how it works. This brain, this wiring of the brain, it's been there for ages, right? So where back in the day, and I'm talking like way back in history, it really saved us and kept us safe from, some animals that try to hunt us, or from, whatever that was chasing us. But actually, in today's world, we're not being chased by freaking tigers or anything. We're just, we have some emotional threats, maybe, at next what you can call them. But this is the most dangerous that it gets, right? But our brain is still reacting in the same way as it did way back when. So what I really want to mention now is that it's not you're not like broken or anything, or you're not doing something wrong. But this is just something that is the wiring of our brain, and the brain that's trying to protect us. So I don't know about you, but what really helped me is when I realized, like, oh gosh, it's not something that I have to be upset about, or that I have to, that I have to blame myself for, because actually it's just the wiring of the brain. And as you just saw in the slide, it's not just you, it's a lot of people, if not everyone, right? And I find that super, super important to share, because it lightens the load. At least it did for me a little bit, and I hope it does for you as well. So if that's happening in our brain, what is actually happening there, right? So I try to simplify it in this way for you. So actually, there's about 2 key players in your head, in your brain. And the one is your prefrontal cortex. And you can, I call it the analyzer. It's like your logical planner. And it basically says, like, okay, this has happened. Let's figure this out. We're going to solve this, stay on top of everything, make sure we figure this out, right? That's the one that wants the control. And then next to it is the other player, and that is the amygdala. And the amygdala is like the alarm bell in your brain, right? So it's constantly scanning. Is there a threat? Where are we going? Is this going well? And it's basically just saying, when you start overthinking, it's like, oh, danger, panic now, like this panic button in your brain that goes off. And it's like, even if the threat is just like a little uncomfortable, or it's a little uncertain, this amygdala is like, ring the bell, we're uncomfortable, danger now. And that is the start of you feeling the feelings of, okay, I'm thinking this thought, I'm thinking it again, I'm starting to, and that's also where we get into this loop. And this is the loop I'm talking about. So basically what happens, and again, super simplified, right? Because I want everyone to be able to follow along, is you have a thought. So let's say there's something going on and you're thinking, what if this goes wrong? What if this doesn't go to plan? What happens? What if this goes wrong? And we all know, the more you worry about something that hasn't happened yet, we have a saying in Dutch where it's like, the person who fears the most of something that hasn't happened yet is likely to suffer the most, right? So you're thinking about these things that haven't happened and that may never happen, most likely will never happen, but your mind is already like, what if? So what if this goes wrong? And then that triggers a feeling in you, right? It's like, what if this goes wrong? It's a thought, and it triggers a feeling in the body. And it's like, oof, it can be like an anxiety, a fear, or a stressy feeling. And basically that feeling then sparks more thought. And it's like, ooh, you see, I think it's going wrong right now. Something must be off here. Something is wrong. I need to think about this even more. And that thought that comes up then, that's where the overthinking pattern starts. Then we find out that we're feeling even more anxiety, even more stress. So that's a cycle that just reinforces itself the whole time. And it's like this snowball, it starts rolling and it becomes bigger, 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 bigger. And at one point it's like, oh my gosh, how am I ever getting out of this, right? So this is the loop that we want to break. And I'm sure that you've tried quite some things to break this loop. If you're brave, maybe you want to put in the chat what it is that you've done to try to stop overthinking. Just break the loop, break the cycle, because it's not working. Let's see in the chats. What have you tried to stop this loop? Don't be shy, people, please. Otherwise, it's just me, myself, and I, and it gets a bit lonely. Let's go. And I'm not talking to Julia because she's driving, so that's going to be dangerous. Safety first. David, meditation. Yes, meditation. In the moment, it can be pretty good, right? Exercise. Cool. And did you feel that it helped you? Did it help you to break the loop? Hamza tried to distract myself, he says, but it doesn't help. I see. Thank you for sharing. How about you, Beck? How about you, Ethan, if I pronounce it correctly? Mariana, Sungiata, beautiful names here. Oh my gosh. Mariana says just ignoring it and being positive. All right. And Beck, journaling is a temp fix. The pattern starts again the next day. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for your openness. Ethan says listening to music. Okay, cool. So all different ways that you found to cope with it, right? And my assumption would be, because you're in this call tonight on this really warm day in the evening, which I fully appreciate, but my guess is that these things have helped you maybe in the moment, but maybe it is like Beck says, that it's a temp fix, but then it starts again the next day, or maybe even later in the day itself, right? Otherwise you wouldn't attend this session. So I appreciate your creativity and the fact that you've done so many different things to, to get rid of it, but yet here we are. Okay, so now that we know that this is the loop, so why hasn't it worked what you've tried? And this is just, it's not judgment from my side, right? I've also tried a million things, all the things you're mentioning, I've also tried, and I tried for a long time and really hard, so I'm with you. But why thinking more doesn't help, right? So it's something that we notice some things like, oh gosh, this is happening. We try to distract ourselves, put on music or meditate or journal or anything like that. And then it comes back. So why we can't think our way out of this by analyzing, rationalizing, making lists maybe of like, what are the pros, what are the cons? I don't know what you're doing, but these are all things that I've tried in the past. Is that basically you're working with a part of your brain that we just saw with the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. You're working with the part of your brain that is conscious, and your brain consists of a conscious part and a subconscious part. And what we're doing, what I was doing, is working with that conscious part, which holds only about 5% of your total brain capacity. 5. That's only 5. I'm just repeating to make it clear, because the other 95% is in your subconscious. We'll get to that in a little bit. Why I speak about the subconscious is that that's where your deeper patterns lie. So just to explain briefly, and again, I try to simplify it as much as possible to keep it interesting and not too boring for you. But it's that basically our conscious mind speaks about action, logic, analysis. We have to, a lot of that stuff, ego, it's all in there, in the 5%. And the remaining 95%, the subconscious part, is all about what you believe, your patterns. So basically, this is your driver for all of your behavior. So what have you been taught to believe? What are your behavioral patterns? All of those things, they are stored in your subconscious mind. So what happens when you only work with the conscious part of your brain, which is the action taker, the analyzer, right? It's like, we can do this, we have to hold on, we have to just stop overthinking, that part. That is based on willpower. So the willpower, it works for a while, but what happens is that your brain also gets super, super tired. So basically, you're fighting with this 5%, and it's also very tiring. The willpower, it takes a lot of effort from you, because it's like, oh, we have to hang in there, we have to stop overthinking, let's keep meditating, keep journaling, keep, and it's like something you have to do, otherwise you may fall back into old patterns. Yes, and that's because in the subconscious, that's where your patterning lies, right? So let me know if this is clear to you, because I'm super hyped about this, and sometimes I go a little bit too fast. So let me know in the chat if you can follow this, and if you understand, and if you don't, please let me know what I can clarify. Maybe I am going a bit fast. And if it's all cool, just give me a thumbs up in the emoji section there, so I know what's going on your side. See a raised hand. Yes, come on in, unmute yourself, please. Ethan, I think it's you. And a thumbs up. And Beck as well, thumbs up. Okay, amazing. All right, thank you. So if this is all clear, we can proceed to what does work. So I spoke about the subconscious for a little bit already, and I want to explain a little bit more about it. Because for me, this was a huge, huge, huge game changer, and that's why I want to share it with you. So like I said, the conscious mind is the part of the brain that, we've all been taught to use every day. And the subconscious part is the part that has, since you were born, has stored all the things that you've been taught, that you saw that, oh, that worked, let's keep doing that. So all these patterns and all these beliefs, they are in your subconscious mind, and they determine your behavior, which is then trying to be controlled by your conscious mind. So I would say that the root of it all is in the subconscious. And this again is the 95% of your full capacity in your mind, right? So what happens in the subconscious is driving everything that you do or you don't. So even the overthinking, and that may be a bit odd, right, to hear, because it's like, since when do we want to overthink? But if that is something that is stored in your subconscious, it's like, we want to be safe. And when we see something that triggers us, we're just going to make sure that we try to control it with the conscious mind, right? So what you want to do, if you want to get rid of overthinking, is you want to make sure that you go to the root of where this comes from. And the root is in your subconscious mind. And although the subconscious mind is always the driver of everything that we do, believe, say, don't do, believe, or say, we've never learned how to tap into it actively, right? So when you do, and you can actually tap into the subconscious mind when you calm the nervous system and you get into a really mode of relaxation, that's when you can tap into your subconscious mind and you can basically reprogram what's been stored there. And I always have this comparison to the brain, to the computer, is the computer also, when you start it, it just runs the same program until you tell it to update the software, or if you want to, change the settings or whatever. And that is the metaphor for your subconscious mind as well. You can go into the subconscious mind through this mode of relaxation and basically change the pattern that you have stored there. Isn't that amazing? It's really something that when I learned about it, I was like, oh my gosh, why haven't I learned about this when I was younger? This is crazy. So good. So what you can do is you can basically reprogram your own mind in your favor and to kindly but firmly request it to stop the overthinking. So how does that work? How do you rewire a belief? And again, it's rewiring your belief. It's not rewiring a thought, because a thought is just following the belief. We have thoughts and they come from a certain place because we have certain beliefs stored in ourselves, and then we start to think. So what we do, tapping into the subconscious, there is, for me, the most effective way to tap into the subconscious mind and to rewire our brain is through hypnosis. And I don't know if you've heard about hypnosis before, hypnotherapy. I'm very curious if you have. So if you just want to pop in the chat, is it a yes, have you heard about it? Or is it a no, never heard about it? Or maybe you have an experience with hypnosis even. Let's hear it in the chat, guys. I'm super curious. David, hypnotherapy, NLP, you've heard about it. Hamza says no. All right. And the others, let me know. And David, have you had any practical experience with hypnotherapy, NLP? Back heard of it, but not in depth. Okay. David tried falling asleep to videos on YouTube. Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, cool. All right. Yeah, so there is some of you have heard about it, some haven't. Either heard about but never did. Okay, cool. All right, so then I will explain a little bit about how that works. So with hypnosis, and again, for me, like I've really tried so many personal development tools, methods, approaches, you name it. But this is my favorite because it's just so effortless and effective. And I love that because I think we're all busy enough. And, I wasn't really a fan of things where I had to hold on or build a habit or whatever. With hypnosis, it was just instant change. Okay, let me explain that to you. So basically what happens in hypnosis is that you access your subconscious mind directly. And like I said, this is the place where everything is stored, right? So the loop of overthinking is coming from your subconscious mind. And what you want to do in hypnotherapy, in hypnosis, is that you want to basically retrain your brain and, also make sure that the amygdala just follows along to not panic anymore and not be that alarm bell when something just emotionally happens, but to respond in a very calm manner and just to know that it's okay, we're safe, we're good. No need to go into overdrive. And what you're basically then doing is you're teaching your brain something like an update that it never received. Like I said, your brain is just there for you. It tries to help you every day. And it thinks that it's doing a really great job. And you're just there sitting thinking, God damn it, the overthinking, I'm going crazy over here. But your brain is there for you. So as soon as you retrain it and you're like, hey, thank you so much for all your efforts, but I want you to know that you're safe. We're safe here. There's no need to panic and, to keep overthinking and try to make every solution concrete in your mind. There's no need. And once you do that, you start to create new, basically neural pathways, which is in your brain, you start to make new connections. And that then results in new ways of thinking about things. So if that's something you would want to do, is you can just explain to your subconscious mind, like, it's okay if we feel a little discomfort. It's okay if we feel a little uncertainty about certain things. We don't need to obsess to be safe in this situation, right? We're just going to do what we think is best, and we'll see. No need to obsess over every possible outcome. And yeah, like I said, for me, it's like the most effective way and just such a pleasant way to deal with it instantly and just be done with it, because honestly, I have been overthinking for so long, and it was really so tiring. And at one point I was like, oh, am I losing it? I don't know. And with this, it's just been such a relief. What I can share about hypnosis itself is that, I don't know what you're thinking about the word of hypnosis. There's a lot of different definitions going on, I think. But for me, what it is basically a state of ultimate relaxation. And thereby you're allowing your critical mind to take a break, right? That critical mind that is continuously, what if, how about, what do you think? Park that stuff. And then let the subconscious mind take the floor, basically. That's what happens. And if it's like a car, it's like, okay, how to get under the hood and see what's really going on, and make sure that you fix it then and there, where the engine is. Basically what it then does is just create lasting change. And yeah, that's been a beautiful experience. So it's something that and let me see if I can share this with you now, because technically this was a bit challenging to do, but let me see if I can. I just need to hear from you if the sound is coming through. So I'm just going to play it, and then let me know in the chat if you hear the sound, please. See if I can. Yes, maybe here. How did you feel before the session?
I was a mess. Honestly, I mean, I can always ground myself, but my mind was racing and I seemed to be having thoughts in a loop, thoughts of insecurity, indecisiveness. I think it was the best way to describe what was going on in my head. And it was kind of chaotic thoughts, going back and forth with decisions, asking myself over and over the same thing, expecting different results, which is the definition of madness.
Yeah. So this is a client of mine, and she was an overthinker. She did a lot of overthinking, like you just saw. And I'm curious to hear from you. Does this resonate? Do you feel that, this is something similar to what you're experiencing? And her wording, of course, doesn't need to match identically. She said, I was a mess. We recorded this after her very first hypnosis session. And I'm curious, of course, to share with you how she felt after. Did you guys hear the sound, by the way? Because I did, of course, but I hope that you did too. There was subtitles, but with the sound on, it's always most alive. David heard it. Oh, thank God. Okay, perfect. Okay. Yeah. Ethan as well. Okay, cool. Yeah. Hamza, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. So this is how she felt before. And I was super grateful for her openness, and appreciate that she also wants to share this, because it can help others as well to see that, also in this session, I can tell you all I want about hypnosis, but of course it's beautiful to see from another person what was the before and after. So this was how she felt before the session, and I'm happy to share with you as well how she felt after her very first hypnosis session. So let's go and play that one. Let me see if I can. How did you feel? Oh, you've seen that already. Let me go to the next slide. Here we go. How would you describe that you feel after the session now?
I feel relaxed and calm. There are definitely outside external challenges that everyone faces, but I feel I can turn them around to my benefit, and I'm much calmer now. All those questions in my head about, am I doing the right thing? Should I have done something differently? Should I do this? Take action, not take action. All the confusion in my head is gone, because I accepted the fact that I don't need to have all the answers. And I tend to be stubborn like that, where I need the answers now, So I feel I've let go of control. I feel peaceful and calm. And there's just something that I would call a deep knowing of everything is going to work out beautifully, especially if I don't push it or put my brakes on it or try to control it. So
yes. So that is how she felt after the session. And I can tell you that it's still the same. So this was a couple months ago now. And yeah, it's really like a life-changing experience for her. So this was her tapping into her subconscious in one session, which took like an hour and a half, and basically rewiring that programming. So from this state of what she also explained to me as a kind of a paralysis state of thinking about something, keeping on thinking, getting stuck, realizing that so much time and energy has already been wasted, getting upset with the fact that that happened, and then getting into more worrying, because what now? That was like the paralysis state, because no action came out of that. It was just a lot of worrying and a lot of concern. So it was really my pleasure to help her with this. And she's one of the many clients that I've helped. And I just think that life is way too short to keep overthinking. Nobody got time for that. I always say as a joke, but it's true. So this is what I wanted to share with you on here.